Hi everyone. So let's cover everything that we've got to offer within those master classes that I have put out for all of you. So the master classes were designed originally to be the process that everyone would go through prior to needing to see me, so that it would weed out all of the things that were within your control or something that you wouldn't need a practitioner to dig through the depths of everything to find for you to change in your life. And they started working so perfectly that they kind of became a standalone for a lot of people, because the way that I engineered it was that I went and I identified what I saw in my patient population, which was primarily people with autoimmune conditions, chronic conditions, hormonal presentations, and even things that fall under the umbrella of those chronic terms like cancer, or we won't go into the details, but the big words that people are given. And so a lot of people that came to me were the ones that went everywhere else, tried everything else, and then just kind of were at a loss for what to do next. And so that's what those classes were designed for, because my schedule could not handle the amount of people that I was needing to see. So I created those courses and they worked perfectly. And so that's actually what these classes are. Those were the areas that I identified that almost everybody I saw needed to change. And they are the basic, foundational, fundamental things that have to be in your life no matter what. And so when those things are put into place, what I started finding was that most people didn't need anything after that. They didn't need to see me. They didn't need to go into the depths. They had everything that they needed to be able to go into the emotional parts of their life, the relationship components of their life with more energy, with more clarity, and with the capacity to adapt or change or modify based off of their own discretion, because of all the other work that we did. That's a you with you game. And so I just want to cover what I put in those nutrition, or not nutrition classes, in those master classes, so that you can know how to use them, or which ones you might supplement what you're already doing in your life. So we're going to start out with the first one. So the OG of OGs is that Truth About Nutrition class. That is where I dug through all of the literature and dug through all of my patient cases and saw where the holes were with regards to digestion, nutrition, why people weren't digesting even if they had perfect diets. And we go into the physiology and the how and why of your digestion and nutrition. So it's not a diet. It's not teaching you a new diet. It's not teaching you how to use supplements or anything like that. It's how to change how you go about eating and how you go about choosing the foods that you choose based off of your mood, your state, and all of those steps that we go into in that class. So then with that class, we do cover all the rules and how to think through all of those as well. But then I followed up that with the supplemental nutrition and nourishment class, where we added additional examples on how to break the rules intelligently so that you always get a benefit. So, like if you have children and you can't change your mood in one of those steps, or if you're stressed out or in a season of loss or grief or going through a breakup or anything like that, where you can't control those areas and you still need to eat food, right? How to go about that. And then you all gave me real life scenarios, and we walked through how to think through those, how to choose through those different situations. And again, it's not a diet, it's the rules of your physiology, what the body actually needs in order to digest food, and then what to do if it's in a state where it shouldn't be consuming food. And so again, that's the Truth About Nutrition masterclass, and then the Nutrition and Nourishment supplemental class. Those are both standalone, so you could take one and get everything you needed. You could take both and have just an enhanced understanding of those topics. Kind of depending on your personality, depends on which one you should take. If you're somebody that just wants to know what the rules are and how to break them intelligently, I would do the Nutrition and Nourishment class, so that second class. If you like more of the understanding behind why it is the way it is, then that Truth About Nutrition class will be probably the one that you want to do. So then I did the light class. And so this is not just outdoor light and not just indoor light. It's all of the components that you need to consider when you're exposing your skin to light. And so we're always touching light in any given moment. And so we go into just not the overcomplication of everything, but the simplification of everything, so that you can have a true understanding of how to do things, how to use light to your advantage, even if, say, you're in a situation where you're working and you're under fluorescent lights, or your spouse doesn't want all the red lights in the room and stuff like that, just things to consider. And a lot of the elements that a lot of people don't consider with regards to the eye skin connection and how to actually keep that system in sync as well. So then following that, I did a standalone sleep class. So for most of people doing the light class, the light nutrition together will handle any sleep situations. If, however, there's additional inputs or complications with regards to that sleep process, because remember, sleep is not just the opposite of awake, it's a continuation in a different biological dance within your body. And so that's what we did in that sleep class. That one's kind of the supplemental one. I would do the light one first if you have sleep disturbances, and really give the body time to adapt and adjust to using light in that way to get your hormones back on board. And then if you need additional support, then use that sleep class. Then we did the Truth About Energy masterclass. So that one, I know a lot of you want me to rename it the stress, energy and stress masterclass. So we cover stress, we cover some components of the nutrition class within that one as well. If you're somebody who has the misinformed hunger cues, meaning you're stressed and you're hungry. And so we go into that component in that stress and energy class, and we go into how to prevent the unnecessary loss of energy and how to enhance the energy that you're given every single day. Remember, we're not creating energy in the human body, we are managing it. And so we go into all the depths and details of that in that energy and stress masterclass. So again, it doesn't say stress, but the stress is a big component because that's one of the most important things that drains energy, right? Physical and psychological stress. So we go into all of those things. And again, we give you practical action steps in all of these classes. So it's a little bit different than or a lot different actually than my content, say on social media, because these are actually teaching you and they're going into how and how to think, what to do, and how to navigate yourself through any situation you're ever put in. And so that's in that energy and stress masterclass. That's really good if you're just super low on energy and you're eating everything the best you can, you're following the rules of nutrition, you're doing the light the best you can, and it just feels like you don't have the energy to get over that curve that's required with regards to healing or just in life in general. And then our favorite of the favorites, my favorite too, is the Mind Masterclass. And that a lot of people say that they feel like they should start with that one, but then I've also had some people say that it was the great like cherry on top at the end, because like in the nutrition class we talk about how the mind and the placebo affect the outcome in your body. And so it just kind of depends on your personality. If you feel like your mind is a big piece to what's poisoning or tainting your experience of life or just affecting you greatly, then maybe that's the place to start. But if you feel like you really have a lot to do in those other areas, start with those other practical areas because you can always work on your mind throughout the entire process. And we kind of touch on the mind in every class because none of those fundamental things don't include the mind, so we have to give a nod to it in every single class because it's a huge piece of all of those. But the mind class is really going into you understanding that even your subconscious minds and your subconscious mind and those patterns and mechanisms that you created as a result of your traumas or experiences are not against you, and how to bring those back into your life and use them to your advantage and see them for what they are, and then how to live a life where you start changing your mind, not needing to go do retreats or needing to just meditate all the time. Or this is a living way to change your mind, to change your programs, to change your patterns, and to honor the value that those patterns and those programs have and how they helped you survive certain portions of your life. And so that mind class is packed with some of that. And then the baby of the baby, which was the first one I ever did, was the Illusions in Medicine Masterclass. That's where we go into just the paradigm shift that is this approach to medicine. It's where I first introduced a change versus fix and how to think through that, how to think through the truth that your body is always right, and see how that actually matters with regards to the questions you ask and the actions that you take. We go into a little bit, kind of lead you into thinking about, do lab testing and all of the perfecting of the body really matter and how that ties into death, and, kind of lead you into how to think, not what to think, but how to start thinking in this way. And so that was the baby class, the first one I ever did. Super special to me. It's really where a lot of things are picked from, because that was the foundation of, changing my thought process. And so that's where I put that in that. And that's why it's discounted, because I think a lot of you are so intelligent that maybe if you had a different premise, had a different foundation, maybe you would ask different questions. And then when you're coming from that true premise, then you get different answers to those questions. You can take more appropriate actions, and then those actions give you those results. And so that was the original intention behind that class. So I've got a couple more classes coming up that we're going to be adding to that, and specifically one with regards to when you're diagnosed and how to go about that and everything that's going to be encompassed in that. So that's going to be a good probably starter. And then you're going to go in there and you're going to remove all the variables, right? Every one of these is a variable that has to be addressed, and it has to be addressed every single day for the rest of your life, because this is just how your body works. So there's no day where sun doesn't do what it does to your skin, eyes, nervous system, hormones. And so same thing with breathing. I always say if you're breathing every single day, you've got to be following all these other rules, because if you're breaking the rules, there are repercussions to breaking the rules. It's not that your body's wrong. It's that it does things in a certain way. And when you want it to do things in a different way, like say, stay out in the sun longer than you've prepared your skin for, there are repercussions to that. The sunburn's not wrong, just like all of these other things with regards to your digestion and your sleep and your mood and your energy. And so what we want to do on this side of things is, what are the things that we can actually access and control? Right? Control is a big thing. And you'll see that even in the control of things, you've got to be an active participant, mind, body, mood, and action. And it can't just be solely focused on the action. So that's what these classes are for. They are my life's work, and they're really the offering that, I envisioned in the beginning of how, if I didn't exist, could I, I can't give my mind to people, but I can help them see how I started seeing, how I started thinking, how I uncovered this way of doing medicine where you live a life that informs your blood and your chemistry and your tissues, instead of fighting that and then losing life because you're trying to change your tissues. It just didn't make sense to me. And so this is my passion project, my love child. It's everything to me. And so these are not your typical classes. They're not going to be, spread out over weeks and weeks and weeks. I consider that, from some of your feedback. But again, my thing too is the point is living. So how can we convey this information in the shortest amount of time, be the most concentrated, the most impactful? It has nothing to do with me and everything to do with you. So every minute I waste is a waste of the life that's going to get you to the health that you desire. So that was, again, I know it's concentrated, I know it's heavy, and there's not, a lot of fluff, but that was very intentional as well, for my time, for your time. And again, before you take these, you need to make sure you resonate with how I deliver information, because it's just how I deliver information. So if that doesn't sit well with you, I'm going to come up with other formats to deliver the information, but those master classes are where I speak, and I speak how I speak, and I go at the pace that I go. And so that's what's in those classes. They're not your typical, like, we're going to do this for 3 weeks and do worksheets, or it's the information. It's a concentrated masterclass. Like if I was sitting with you and being like, this is how you've got to think through these things, because you're going to be different every single day, and you've got to know how to modify, adapt, and utilize everything within your reach to be the best, healthiest, most alive version of yourself for the rest of your life. And that's what these master classes are. So thank you for being here. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And everyone asked, like, if there was one to start with, which one would you start with? I think the general consensus coming from everybody, mind is up there now, but the nutrition classes have always been the one that really make you understand how right your body is. And so I would say either start with the mind, if the mind is something that you really struggle with. If you want one of those practical classes where you see it in action and can be like, oh my gosh, my body was right the whole time. And if I would have known, I wouldn't have been mad, right? then I would start with one of those nutrition classes and apply it and think through the experiencing of it. And then it's going to make you see everything else differently. So even if you only chose one, maybe do one of those nutrition classes and see how the body is right. Not because of wishful thinking or hoping, but because it is. And then when I change how I do things, it changes how it does things. And then you're in the game, okay? And then you're free. And once you've experienced the complete, changing and adaptation and resolution of what you're experiencing, then you can't ever take that away from somebody. All right. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. I'm going to keep adding on to these. Again, there's some emotion class that's in the work, relationship class that's in the work, and then I'm just going to use your feedback on, okay, well, now this is the area I've got left. I've removed all of these variables. All of these things have changed. There's a little bit left, and what's left, I think, has to do with this, this, and this, because that's how to do it. Remove all the variables that you have access to. If you have access to it, it's up to you to change it. And you're making it harder on yourself if you're going for these intangible areas and not handling the things that require you to do them every single day. All right? Your life is your medicine, always and in all ways and in every direction. You have all you need. Your body is perfect. It's just telling you the truth about your life. Listen in a different way, change in a different way, and watch what changes.